The subject of political discussion at the moment is mostly focused on by-elections, of which we have 2 this week. It's quite a significant event to have 2 parliamentary by-elections in the same week. And the issue has come up in discussion recently about the Progress Party putting itself forward for by-elections as and when they appear. The current strategy for our election campaign is to field a relatively small number of candidates for Parliament. We're looking at 50, 60, maybe 100 if things go really well over the course of the next few years. We would be focusing specifically on locations where we think we have a good chance of winning. We could put forward large numbers of candidates all across the country and scrape a small handful of votes in each location. And effectively that wouldn't really help us all that much. If anything, it would just give the impression that we aren't going to be particularly successful given that we lost so many elections by such a large amount. By only focusing on a small number of specific areas, we can focus all of our campaign efforts, all of our finances on those locations and get the best possible results there, and hence give a good first impression and boost confidence in the party and our chances of success in the future. Which is where the challenge of by-elections comes in, and they show up entirely at random. We can't tell where they're going to be or when. There's a good chance that the next one will be in a very safe seat held by one of the main parties, where we would have virtually no chance of getting any votes. The possibility of one showing up in a place that we have specifically been targeting is quite slim. If we're looking at, say, 1 in 10 seats in Parliament, potentially there might be a by-election within the next 5 years in one of those places, on average. So it's not entirely likely that we would have multiple opportunities to win seats in Parliament prior to the election. The other option, of course, is to field candidates intending to lose but at least get some media attention, which is something I'm not entirely enthusiastic about. The prospect of getting media attention for getting only a small number of votes. If we get, say, 200, 300 votes as a minor party that basically no one in that particular location has heard of before, it doesn't reflect well on us. And this is why I'm looking to hold off on standing any candidates for any parliamentary elections for at least a good couple of years now. The time will come when we will be able to get a candidate and put them forwards and get a reasonable number of votes. The only question is whether there would actually be a by-election in a place where we would be able to actually run a campaign. When it comes around to, say, 2019 and we're in a position where we have the strength, the finances, the numbers of members and the level of support across at least certain parts of the country that we would need in order to get a reasonable number of votes, will the by-elections in that year be places where we have supporters, where we have a campaign office, where we have the infrastructure we would need in order to run a successful election campaign? And as such, there is a good chance that we will be putting forward a very small number of by-election candidates, if any at all, to be honest. I would very much like to see us in a position where we can actually field by-election candidates every few weeks or few months as and when they come up, and get good numbers of votes in each situation, but it's unrealistic to assume that the elections would be in places where we would be successful and that we would have the strength, the popularity, the campaign infrastructure in place to actually run those by-election campaigns and get a good solid result in each successive place, especially given that in most occurrences we would be up against a very strong, safe party that has held that particular location on, in many cases, a rather large majority of votes. And effectively we would just be throwing all of our campaign finances and effort at a vote that we would not do very well in. We would need to save that for specific opportunities as and when they come up, where we have a better chance. The main focus over the next few years is to give the best possible first impression. If we want this to be a successful party, then we need people to see it as being potentially able to do so, and that means actually getting out there and getting good results and not getting 300 votes in a by-election. And of course, if the opportunity does come up that an election is held in a place where we have already gathered some support, we already have people in place that would be able to stand as candidates and hand out leaflets and run local campaigns, then of course we would, put everything we had toward that. But unfortunately we cannot at all predict whether or not that will occur at all, and when or where it might take place, until literally days before it does happen. So for now, all of the planning is going towards the general election and also local election campaigns in each successive year. And we will be on the lookout for by-elections, but cannot commit to anything at this stage.